Welcome to Leveraging Blockchain. This webcast is brought to you by Monash Tech Talks through the Monash University Faculty of Information Technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joseph Liu, the Associate Professor of Cybersecurity and also the Director of Monash Blockchain Technology Center. My colleague here is Dr. Jiangshan. He is also a lecturer in cybersecurity. And tonight, Jiangshan and I will be hosting this webcast and taking you through the key elements in leveraging blockchain for maximum commercial impact. First, we will cover the basics of the blockchain. Then we will discuss the innovations and the future of the blockchain. After that, we will leverage the blockchain for business. And following this, we will move into all your questions for our audience Q&A. Please submit your questions throughout the presentation by clicking the blue hand icon in the top right corner of the screen.
Hi everyone, this is Jiangshan. So today I'm going to talk with Joseph, first of all, on the basics of the blockchain.
Okay, so maybe I just ask you a very simple question. So many people will ask, what is blockchain?
Well, it's a chain of blocks, right? So basically, you can think of the blockchain as a ledger, a database that you can put things in, and everyone can read the ledger, the blockchain, and no one can manipulate the record in the ledger. So it's a non-modifiable database, I would say. And
again, many people will ask, so what are the differences between blockchain or cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin, all these terms? What are the differences?
Well, cryptocurrencies are currencies you can get money from it, right? So basically, blockchain is the general concept. It's a technology that has been leveraged by cryptocurrencies or smart contracts like Ethereum or other applications. So blockchain is the general concept, right? And cryptocurrency is just one of the application of the blockchain.
And Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency that has been proposed. So Bitcoin is the first one introduced blockchain concept in the 2008, right?
Yes. Yeah, and of course we know that blockchain is a new technology and is very good. But it seems not many people are aware of that. Do you think it is it's not very common, at least in our society?
I think, to me at least, blockchain is not, well, even my mom knows blockchain, even my grandma knows blockchain, right? If you are watching TV or if you are listening to the radios, then blockchain is everywhere. And probably because of a huge amount of money have been involved in the cryptocurrencies, I would say. So now I think if you just go to downstairs and ask a stranger, a passenger, then he would know that what is blockchain. At least he heard of the blockchain before.
Yes, I think especially nowadays, say if it is 5 years ago, if we talk about blockchain, it seems no one knows what it is. But after all these cryptocurrencies forming in the past, and of course the very recent news about this Facebook cryptocurrency, so it seems more and more people know what is blockchain, or at least heard about the term the blockchain or cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. You mentioned the Facebook Libre. So what do you think about Facebook?
Oh, well, of course, for me, it is a very, very good news that this kind of large companies, just such as Facebook, they want to investigate this blockchain technology and in the usages. And that actually brings the people to know blockchain is not just equal to Bitcoin or to investment or to get money, but it can be used in the general society. Say, use maybe my mom, if she wants to transfer some money to me or to you, we can use the blockchain technology.
So recently I have been discussing this with my colleagues during the lunch break. So some of them asked me, like, what is the difference between the Facebook Libre blockchain to some other services like the WeChat Pay or Apple Pay because we already have the digital payment on the mobile phone. So what is the difference? I know that you have many words to say there, right?
Yeah, I would say blockchain by default, it is open to public, so everyone can verify the data put into the blockchain. So if Facebook is using this blockchain to build this Libre cryptocurrency, it is open to public to verify. So it is not a closed system. So everyone can verify there's the transaction flow from person A to person B, while in the WeChat Pay is the opposite. It is just a closed system. So the company say you have $1, you have $1, and then the company say no, you have $3, you have $3. So this is the opposite between WeChat Pay and the future Facebook Libre.
I think I may have 50% of confidence to agree with you, and the other 50% says no. So because I think there is a subtle difference on the blockchain payment with the Libre. For example, so with WeChat, as you mentioned, our PayPal is only a number recorded in their database, so they can somehow change the number if they want. It's just numbers there, right? And as you mentioned, with the Facebook Libre blockchain, then it's hard to change because there are many parties and people can audit and verify all the transactions. But there is a risk because currently, let's say if there are only 20, 30 organizations that are involved in the Facebook blockchain. And I think more than half of them are American companies. So probably if there is going to be a trade sanction between states and another country, then if the states really wants to enforce some sort of legal enforcement on the trade sanction on Facebook Libre to that country, then maybe there is an availability problem to that country if they are using Facebook Libre.
Yeah, but so I think that's why Facebook is trying to maximize this size to maybe, I think its target is 100 from different countries. So maybe we can form a company and then we can join this Libre.
Good idea, we should discuss with the faculty.
But I think they have some basic requirements. Say, for example, the company market capitalization should be at least $1 billion. $1 billion US dollars? Or several.
Well, you need to be rich and reputable to be part of the game.
And I think at least at this moment, I'm not to that level.
Right. But I think the basic idea, as you mentioned, is that there will be the rich companies or the really reputed companies. They come into it, and their reputation will be part of the game. So people would trust that not all the companies would come together and to do something bad on this blockchain. So I think that's what I understand about the basic concept of the Facebook blockchain.
Yes, that's true. And they also want to make it a partially decentralized system. Some people saying that blockchain is a decentralized concept, but it seems the Facebook Libre is a centralized system. So what they want to do is to try to decentralize it. So they have this kind of different companies formed together, and it's not just formed by one single company. And this is, I think it's a trade-off between the centralization and efficiency. And I think most of the people knows, okay, Bitcoin is a truly decentralized system. However, it's not very fast. If I want to say use a Bitcoin to buy a coffee, and I may need to take, say, maybe 30 minutes to stand there to wait for the confirmation. And I think you don't want to wait for 30 minutes for coffee, right?
Exactly. So that actually takes us to the next topic, the innovations and the future of blockchain. So what do you think that the blockchain will be used for in the future, and what are the innovations on the blockchain?
I think there are lots of opening research that we can do as a researcher, we can do. And just use my previous example. You don't want to wait for 30 minutes to buy a coffee. Of course, if it is better if we can just wait for maybe 1 or 2 seconds. So improve the efficiency of this kind of blockchain transaction is one of the main issues in our research community.
Yeah.
And I think you have also done some research on this area, right?
Yes. So, well, I work on many different things, but basically, I'm working on 3 key research challenges. The first one is the scalability of blockchain. So, how to scale the blockchain? How to have a a higher throughput, namely the transactions per second. So currently, Bitcoin can only do like less than 10 transactions per second, and our new system called RepuCoin can handle roughly 10K transactions per second. So that's already something that we are working on as the parts of the innovation. And the other topic we are working on is the security and privacy, which is actually something that people are considering when they are trying to adapt blockchain for their business. And security and privacy are always the first consideration when the money has been involved. So I think on the security, probably the so-called 51% attack is the main threat to the blockchain.
Or maybe you can further explain to our audience what is this 51% attack?
Right. So with blockchain, normally you have what we call the miners. So you do some computing work, then once you are good enough, you create a block. But the assumption is that the attacker will not be able to control more than 50% of the computing power in the entire network. And because if the attacker can do that, then the attacker can create more blocks. So essentially, the attacker can dominate the blockchain and can do whatever the attacker wants to have. And this is the main assumption of almost all blockchains so far. And unfortunately, I think in the last 14 months, there was at least 10 attacks on this assumption. Namely, we can have more than 50% of the mining power being controlled by an attacker to attack the system and to manipulate the blockchain record.
What do you mean by attack the system? Do you mean that I can create my own Bitcoin or I can have more Bitcoin than I deserve to have?
Well, essentially, you can do everything. So let's say if there is a blockchain with whatever X coin, let's call it X coin, and I have 1 X coin in this blockchain. And if I have more than 50% of the computing power, then what I can do is to spend this 1 X coin to different people. So essentially, I'm printing out the money. So that's what we can do.
So that means if I can control more than 50% of the computation power, I can print the money by myself.
Well, kind of. So you can copy your own money and spend it again.
That's good. Then how easy to reach to have the 50% mining power?
Well, it depends. Depends on which blockchain you are talking about. If we are talking about Bitcoin, which is the largest one, then it's very difficult because it's super competitive. There are lots of people who wants to mine the blocks and get a reward to gain more money. But for some small blockchains, because there are more than 2,000 cryptocurrencies out there, so if you pick, let's say, the 30th blockchain or the 50th blockchain on the crypto market cap, then probably you can do that in a few days if you know how.
I see.
And I'm not going to say how.
Okay, so this is the second challenge that you mentioned. So do you have any other challenge you think that can be our future of the blockchain?
Well, privacy as well, right? Because I think privacy is the foundational human right.
Yes.
And with blockchain, let's say Bitcoin, you know exactly what is the amount being transferred from one address to the other. So what we don't know is that who is the real guy behind of this address, because that's the pseudonym, right? But in fact, if we do some kinds of analysis through the network analysis or other types of analysis, then we can actually trace back the person. And in some sense, like if you're looking at the blockchain scanner, we have many different services online, then you see the cash flow on Bitcoin. So this is something that we don't want to have as a public database. And there are already several works working on that. And I think one of them is using the technique you invented 15 years ago, 14 years ago.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, this is an interesting story. So 15 years ago, when I got my PhD, of course, just like other PhD students, I worked very hard to write up the thesis, to publish a paper, and that's it. At that time, I didn't think of any, say, commercial value or patent because I just want to graduate, and this is very simple. But after 10 years later, I suddenly recognized that my PhD thesis has been deployed in one of the largest cryptocurrency called Monero. And they make use of my PhD thesis, the technology to provide the user privacy. And this is the main difference between this Monero and the #1 cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. The current market capitalization of Monero is more than $1.5 billion US. And so you may ask, okay, Joseph, you used to be very rich, $1.5 billion US. You create this cryptocurrency, but unfortunately not. I didn't got anything, and even an acknowledgement email, no, not from them. But I'm still very happy. The reason is, I know that my research contains commercial value. So how much is the commercial value? Well, 1.5 billion. But at least I know it's not just this kind of theoretical works, but it's practical and come to the real society. We have the real impact on our blockchain society. Okay.
So you already lose $1 billion. So then what would you say the use case for the future of blockchain? Do you have any generic examples so that we can earn the next $1 billion?
I think that depends on the society, but what you have mentioned is true. As a user, it's a point of view of a user, not a researcher, new user. Of course, I hope this payment system to be fast and to be secure and privacy preserving as well. So if there's a currency or this is a blockchain system that consists of all these features, I think that will be a great blockchain system already.
Nice.
Yeah. And when I talk to the people in the industry, and many of them, they just ask, is blockchain just equal to cryptocurrency, or the application is just limited to the finance sector? Well, I can say the finance sector, at least at this moment, is the largest application scenario or sector of blockchain. But on the opposite side, it's not just limited to finance sector. In other areas, and we can also use blockchain to improve the business. And there are lots of areas that can rely on blockchain, or blockchain can help them to improve the business.
Right. So let's say if I'm a CEO, of the business, and I want to be rich, and I want to use blockchain. So how can I, be ahead of the game and join this committee and get another $1 billion?
Yeah, depends on what business you are. Say, if for example you are a VC, virtual capital, maybe you can invest me. I can create a cryptocurrency.
Us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So probably we should move on to the next session.
Yeah.
Leveraging blockchain for business.
Yes. And here we are in Australia, and I think many people know that in Australia we have lots of good food products. For example, wine, red wine, and usually during the weekend I like to go to the winery to enjoy a piece of wine, and maybe wine as well with this honeybee or milk powder or beef. All these are very, very good food products from Australia. And not just the people in Australia like it. Say the people in China, for example, many people in China, they are willing to pay a higher price to buy a better food product from Australia. But they may have some concerns about the food. The concern is not about the quality, but the concern is whether the food is really come from Australia. say for us, at least for me, I cannot distinguish the beef from Australia or from other countries by just looking at that. At least I'm not an expert.
I can't even tell if that's beef or lamb.
So do you know how blockchain can help people to distinguish that or to
Well, I know that there are several cases that you can use blockchain to record the trace of the beef. Let's say you have a call and you have some RFID tag. You have something that on the call that you can trace where the call or the aux is shipping to, and then you can record that location information on the blockchain, right? Then when the call has been shipped from, let's say, Australia to China, then you see that the little token has been moved from location here in Australia to China, and then we are doing the kinds of, we are chopping off the meat, then you need another tag saying that the meat is really there, and then the tag, the information of the tag has also been recorded on the blockchain to the supermarket, and you can just scan with your phone to see whether the tag is corresponding to that call or that aux from Australia. So probably that's one of the very simplified example.
Yeah, this is a very, very good technology that can help people to know, say, this product, this beef is really from Australia, but not from other places. And this can increase the confidence to buy the beef. And it is good to the people, not just to the people, to the customer in China, but also good to the producer in Australia, because we don't need to be worried the people will buy a fake product. Yeah.
I think another kind of application that is very promising here is the energy, right? Because we at Monash, we are also doing some research on the energy.
Yes.
And I think you are also involved in the blockchain for energy project as well.
Yes.
So do you have anything to say here on this kind of application?
This is another interesting project on smart energy. Okay, in the traditional energy, this is just the one-way electricity supply, and it seems not many things to do with blockchain. But in the future, in the near future, we have this smart grid. Smart grid is not just a one-way communication for the energy. So we can also generate the electricity, for example, by the solar panel in the roof of my house, and I can sell the energy back to the grid, or maybe store it for the charging for my EV use as well. So this kind of energy transaction or energy trading, actually we can use a blockchain to record. The reason is this trading actually involves lots of parties, not just one-to-one. Maybe I sell to you directly and you sell to a third party. So lots of parties involved. And this transaction, of course, is, I don't want to say change that record. Otherwise, there may be some argument of the money. So blockchain is a perfect tool to record this energy transaction.
I think that's great. And probably another possible application is on the digital health, because Australia is really reputed for the good system we have for the healthcare. And one application I think would be nice is to have the blockchain for healthcare. For example, I always heard the case that, let's say, if you are Australian or if you are Chinese, then you go to another country, and since the other country will not have access to your medical record, so that they cannot provide you the very accurate treatment when you are in danger or when something has happened. So blockchain has the advantage of letting mutually distrusted parties to work together in the way they predetermined. So they previously agree on some sort of policies that they want to work together. Then later on, they can enforce the policy through the smart contract, for example, on the blockchain. So that even if you are not in your own country, let's say if you are in Europe, now you come to Australia and you want to take some medicine treatment, then you can still have your GP here to get access to your medical record in Europe. So that's another possible case probably.
Very good. But I just have a quick question. Say, of course, it's good to use blockchain digital health, but I don't want you or I don't want other people to look at my, say, medical record in the blockchain because blockchain is open to public. So what should I do then?
Well, there are many techniques, right? For example, the very classic thing is the encryption and access control. So you can define a refined policy on which party or even which country can access to your record. And probably this should be the policy level between different nations, saying that if you are a part of the national hospital, then as an employee, you are entitled to do so, provided that you can provide evidence that the patient is there, right?
Yes, yes. Yes, I think we need to have this kind of security mechanism to protect the privacy of patients. And this is actually what we are doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what we are doing is to, of course, on the fundamental technology level, we are going to invest the future technology of blockchain. But on the application side, we also have to collaborate with our industry partners, to help our partners to work with them so that we can also bring the technology into the real business for the real usage. Yeah, this is also what we are doing actually.
Well, I heard a rumor that we are going to have something big to release as a news, right?
Yes, we just established the Monash Blockchain Technology Center very, very recently. And the purpose of it is to establish a cross-interdisciplinary platform, not just for technology people, but also for other people, for example, the medical people, or maybe the agriculture people, or maybe the business people, to use blockchain technology to help the business. So it's not just for research, but we also provide some education and training so that the people at least they know, blockchain is useful in their business. And this is the target of our center.
But since we are talking about the research, I know that you are an expert on post-quantum security and with applications in blockchain as well.
Yes.
Do you want to say something there?
Yes. The current computer, of course, is very powerful, but there are some mathematics hard problems that it cannot be solved easily. For example, the very famous encryption algorithm called RSA. So if you want to break the RSA, if using the current computer, it may take maybe 100 years or 200 years to break it. But in the near future, maybe in 10 or 20 years after later on, when the quantum computer becomes practical, it takes a few seconds to break this RSA. So that's why in the research community of security, we are already trying to invest another type of algorithms that can be secure even in 10 or 20 years later, even in these quantum computers have become practical. These encryption schemes are still secure. Now, the question is, what are the relations between blockchain and these post-quantum things? Now, you have to note that the current blockchain system or the Bitcoin system, all these systems are not secure in the post-quantum computer. That means in maybe 20 years later, if you have these quantum computers, you can easily create your own Bitcoin system or to break the whole cryptocurrency system. It's normal. So that's why we need to work for the future, not just for ourselves, maybe for our next generation. We need to make it secure. Even our son got a Bitcoin 20 years later. So that's why we are also doing research to construct some post-quantum secure blockchain system.
And I think there is something that you need to be really careful here, because you already missed the chance of getting, $1 billion. So if you have some really brilliant algorithms, so probably you should patent them.
Yes, thanks for your advice. Yeah.
Okay, so probably we should move to the
Q&A
session.
Yes. Okay, so let's see. From our audience side, case. This is a very interesting question from Sally. She's asking, is Facebook's Libre currency secure?
That's a good question. So, we are a security researcher, right? So we are doing secure systems. So I can tell you that there is no system that is absolutely secure. All systems are secure under certain assumptions, and some assumptions may hold for long, and some assumptions may not working. For example, if the quantum computer comes up, then the classic algorithms will be broken and the system will be insecure, right? So it's the same with the Facebook Libre blockchain. So they also have certain assumptions, and if the assumption holds, then the system should be secure. But then it depends on, how they implement their system in the real environment.
Or can you put it in a more simple way? This kind of assumption, maybe the audience, they may not know what is it.
So for example, if the quantum computer comes in, then if they are not using your algorithm, then probably they are in trouble.
I see, yeah. And you also bring in a point that is quite important is that it depends on how the people implement the system. Say even if a very secure system, but say I just leave the password to let everyone knows my password, then it is not secure, of course.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And Tom has a question. He's asking, is blockchain only for finance or finance technology, or how can the everyday person benefit from this application? Because although we just covered, say, this medical health system or energy, but it seems as a normal people in everyday life, I may not feel the benefit of blockchain. So what do you think?
That's a good question. I think it depends on what level of involvement you have with the blockchain. Let's say if you invested into the blockchain 10 years ago, then probably you will not ask the question. And I think blockchain now is a promising technology for the future. So in the future, there will be many things being integrated into blockchain. For example, recently I had a chat with a friend who is a professor in the States, and they are working on how to have the document processing for the government, to have the automated process of processing the document for the government to increase the efficiency and leave the permanent archive on the trace of the process. So that will be something that the ordinary citizen will be benefiting from.
I see. I think this is also related to the next question asked by Ahmed. He's asking, how do current regulations or policies impact our application of blockchain?
Recently, I think Bitcoin has been banned from many countries. So that's certainly one of the impact of the regulation. And I truly believe that if we want to make it work, we need to have a very clear and friendly, of course, regulation from the government to guide us on how to develop the blockchain for different applications in that country. What do you think?
Yes, I think we can use, say, Libre as an example. So in terms of technology, Libre is great, and we are technology people. We read through the white paper, and that's absolutely fine to have this kind of cryptocurrency. But the main obstacle is not coming from the technology people. You can see the U.S. government.
I heard Trump is tweeting that Facebook Libre is not going to work. Trump says so.
Because of the regulations and policies, because they want to put this Libre as a kind of currency that can be used by the people in every day. So that's why the government, they need to have this kind of regulation, because when things comes to with money, usually the government wants to somehow to regulate it. For example, to prevent people from laundering, money laundering. So this is the main difficulties. I think the people, especially doing the finance technology about the blockchain side, is facing, just like Facebook. I think the current update stated is they need to, the Facebook will also say that they need to pass through all these regulations by the government in order to issue this Libre cryptocurrency.
Because I think there was another point, similar to what you are saying, because people may think that, Bitcoin Bitcoin is what is a piece of program, and you are printing money from nowhere. So there is nothing backed up Bitcoin. So you are not secure. You just feel like I only got numbers on the screen, and you tell me that that's my money, but it's not backed up by bank or some organization. They are saying that I have a lot of money. So if there is something wrong, you just come to me and I give you out the money, right?
Yes.
So what do you think?
Yes, so that's why I understand that the original idea of Bitcoin is this decentralization without any governments, parties involved. But this is the ideal case. And in the practical world, we somehow need to compromise with the governments and the regulations. So the most practical way, I think, is we have the regulation from the government, just like, say, these ICO activities. We have the regulations, but it's not a totally a ban for this cryptocurrency. We allow this cryptocurrency or this technology to be used. Meanwhile, these regulations also, we can somehow to do this authorization or this kind of accountability for this system. I think this is the balance, and this is the best way to go, at least at this moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question, this is another good question because this term we haven't come up with tonight yet. Ask, what do you think about smart contracts, the future and any open problems, security issues? Or maybe you first tell our audience what is smart contract.
So smart contract is some sort of application on blockchain that allows you to program the contract, the agreement between two parties. So, well, the smart is not that smart. So the smart is something that you can program, you can control in the logic. So it won't do things on its own. You need to define what the contract can do. And smart contract, I think, is a very useful application because it's not only about transferring money from A to B. Rather, it tells you, like, I can set up some conditions. So if this has happened, then you can do what? And you can create all sorts of different programs or contracts, to play with it. For example, all the applications we mentioned, like for digital health or for the supply chain application and so on, I think they all need the support of the smart contract, because otherwise it's only the money transferring algorithm and that's kind of the currency.
Yes, and I think some people also saying that the blockchain with smart contract, actually the first blockchain with smart contract is Ethereum. People saying that it is the blockchain 2.0. Because in the first blockchain, Bitcoin does not support smart contracts, so mainly just for the record of the transaction or the record of the data in the system. But now, if we have smart contracts, just like a programming platform, just like some executable code, so we can do almost everything in the blockchain, say, especially for this automatic programming, automatic trading system. So this is, I think, the next generation of blockchain is blockchain 2.0 with smart contract.
But I think there are also many challenges that we are facing that we need to solve. And I think that's a part of the question as well, right? So what are the problems there? So again, there are security and privacy issues. For example, with the security, we already see a lot of vulnerabilities in the smart contract. So if you are not writing the code in a way that is secure, which is very difficult, then the attacker might be able to steal your money or to lock your money, so that you know that there is $1 billion belonging to me, but you cannot use it anymore. And this has already happened in the past. And for the privacy, for example, your invention on the linkable ring signature cannot be applied directly on smart contract, because smart contract is a piece of code. Let's say in Ethereum, you have the EVM bytecode, and if you have the Ethereum virtual machine, then you can run the code and you know how it works. So it's really hard to protect the privacy, namely what is the content of the contract. So that's another research challenge.
Yes. Interesting. Chris asked another very good question. He asked, do you think Libre, say, of course, provided that the US government approve it, will be a disruption of the current financial system?
Well, I think blockchain is already doing that, right? And Libra is certainly something that would speed up the process. Yeah.
Yes, and just like the WeChat Pay in China, although it is a closed system, it's not blockchain, it's still a kind of a mobile payment system. So when we go back to China, you don't need to bring cash. And even if you cash, you cannot use it.
Right.
Because the people, they are now only accept, for example, you take taxi or if you buy a coffee, what you can do is, okay, use the WeChat Pay to buy it, to take taxi or even to buy the train. Because these shops, they may not accept cash already.
Right. So it's like the Apple Pay or PayPal, whatever. Basically, you can use mobile payment for everything. But as we mentioned previously, that instead of having a single company to take control, Facebook Libra provides a solution that a set of companies they come together saying that we are not going to do something wrong, and if we did, you can verify that on the blockchain.
That comes another question by Sid. He's asking, is it able to use this blockchain technology to detect the potential frauds or this kind of money laundering in this transaction?
So that's an interesting question. So essentially with blockchain, you have a full record of everything, assuming that everyone is using the blockchain for everything. But if you are having multiple systems, like what we are having now, you have multiple banks and different countries, they may not sharing the bank record with each other, then that's going to be difficult. So I would say that if there is going to be a permissionless blockchain or permissioned blockchain, and
no, first, what is the difference between permission and permissionless?
So Bitcoin, as we know, is permissionless blockchain, where anyone can just jump in or to leave the system. So everyone is free to join or leave. So we call it a permissionless blockchain. You don't need any permission. And of course, something like Facebook Libra, if you want to join, you need to be rich. You need to have reputation as a company which is well established. Then they will sign a formal contract offline saying that now we agree that you are a part of our member, and then you are part of the game. You can do things with us. So that's the permission. You need their permission to join the system. But I think in either model, if there are multiple blockchains being used in different countries or in the same country, then it's going to be the same as the current banking system because the bank already has all the record of all the transactions of their customers, right? So from this sense, it won't make any difference to me.
Yes, and I think you have also done some research on this, the de-anonymization of Monero, because Monero, this cryptocurrency is privacy preserving. That means if I send you some Moneros different from Bitcoin, no one knows how much Moneros or how much money I sent to you. So the amount is hidden, the name or the sender, receivers, or the identities are hidden. But that may not very good because the bad guys, they may use it to use it as a money laundering tools. But I think you have done something to somehow to help maybe to de-anonymize it.
Yes. So it's not only Monero. In fact, we skipped this concept. This is a type of protocol called Cryptonote blockchain, which is the first blockchain taking up your work in 15 years ago. And this blockchain is claiming that it can protect the user privacy. Namely, you don't know which coin has been spent in which transaction. And later on, Monero improved this work by also hiding the amount of the transaction. So you don't know how much money has been involved in the transaction. And so we did some attacks, and I don't want to put it as attack work. Rather, I would say I want to do some forensics. I want to analyze the privacy of the system for two purposes. The first one is that I want to see if the systems are really as secure, as private as they claimed. So this is the first purpose. And the second one is that I saw several news that the criminals may want to use the private blockchain to, let's say, buy drugs from the Silk Road on the dark night. So I want to see that is there any way for us to analyze the blockchain and to understand the transaction flow, to de-anonymize them, because this technique might be useful for the government to monitor the criminal activities. So let me start to dig into several systems that using the Cryptonote style blockchain, including Monero, as you mentioned. And well, I think I'm not going to say much about the detailed work, but essentially we are able to identify, I think, from 70% to 90% of all the real input of transactions in those systems.
That's very important, especially to the government, to this cybercrime. Yeah. Okay. Danny is asking, maybe he's doing some business, and he's asking what are the costs involved in using blockchain? Say, for example, if he wants to use blockchain in his business, what are the costs involved?
What is the cost?
The cost, I think maybe say set up this computer, does it cost a high cost to set up this blockchain system?
Right, I see. So it's complicated. So it's a new system, and depending on your specific purpose. For example, if you are doing your business in a sector that you do not have a very mature model, then probably you need to think about what is the help of the blockchain to you, and if you want to use it, then how to program the smart contract and how to set up the blockchain system, and whether you want to have a permissionless system or maybe a permissioned system is better for you. And there are thousands of blockchains out there. Which one is better for you? Or maybe you want to have your own blockchain that you are confident of. So I think it's really a very case specific. And I would recommend you to talk to the people who know those stuff and they are familiar with the development, or they are really understand the foundations, so that they can tell you that which is the best option for you and how to do things.
I see. Okay, and I saw Homer ask a question. I think many people, they may ask this question as well. Is blockchain an encryption method? Because we say this blockchain is secure and blockchain may be user privacy. So many people think that, is it blockchain an encryption method?
Nice question. And I would say that encryption is the thing that has not been involved in Bitcoin initially, right? So initially we have the blockchain, and we only use a concept which is called signature, digital signature. So it's like normally you sign something. Now you do the crypto algorithms to digitally sign a transaction for authentication purposes, but it's not encrypted on the blockchain. So everyone can read the signature, everyone can read the transaction data on Bitcoin blockchain. But then later on, there are more advanced blockchains. They may consider, for example, the privacy, or for other purposes, they may want to put some encrypted data on blockchain to protect the IP or to protect the privacy of that piece of data. But it's not mandatory for blockchain. It's only one of the ways that we can use to help users to protect the data.
Yes, and when you talk to the people, many people are still confused about this, the privacy or secure or encryption. And just as you mentioned, Encryption means, okay, if I encrypt something, I want, say, I don't want someone else to see it, to look at it. But Bitcoin, the first blockchain system, so everyone can look at it. Everyone can see what's happened or the transaction sent between me and you. So it's not like encryption. But we say it is a secure system. Secure means not just for encryption is a kind of security, but we also want to ensure the system, say if I have only one Bitcoin, I cannot create another Bitcoin, just maybe copy and paste. This is also a kind of security.
Exactly. So encryption is normally, well, in our term, is about the confidentiality. Namely, you cannot see the message being encrypted. But this is not needed for the initial Bitcoin design.
Yes. Okay. And Anton has asked, does Monash University have any partnerships with startups or any collaborations with the business sectors?
Well, we have many collaborations and partners, and probably, well, you have one of very large partner with a blockchain company, right?
Yes, we are working with an Australian-based company called Coinstar, and we have formed a joint lab between the Coinstar, Monash, and also our partner in Hong Kong Polytechnic Universities. The purpose is to build a cryptocurrency called HCAS, which is a post-quantum cryptocurrency. And in addition to that, we have also worked with other sectors. For example, we have the energy project, and we are the part of the energy project to provide the blockchain solution to build this smart energy. Yeah. And
we are opening to other partnerships as well.
Yes, especially for those companies who wants to use blockchain technology to improve their business. Okay, and let me see. Kev also asked a question about this regulation. Within the blockchain are the regulatory obligations such as anti-money laundering or any anti-terrorism finance controls means is blockchain already good enough to have this kind of anti-money laundering or good enough for that?
That's interesting because normally when we ask the question is that how can we control such activities on blockchain rather than how to use blockchain to control those activities. But as I mentioned previously, if there is going to be let's say a system that everyone is using and that's truly secure, and there are regulations on how people can use the currency there, then this thing can be done automatically, which is the advantage on blockchain. Because otherwise, you may need to have some manual process to investigate it into the money laundering process. But with Bitcoin, everything is digitalized, so it's much easier. But again, I think that's really far away now, and we still have lots of things to do there. And first of all, we need to have a regulation for blockchain.
Yes, that's true. I think in addition to the regulation, we may also need to have a standardization of blockchain.
Exactly.
Because now everyone proposes his own blockchain system, and there's no standard. There's no blockchain standard yet. And this is the thing that we are working on as well. So we have just formed a committee in ISO standardization to standardize blockchain, and Australia is the founding member. And so we are working something towards this direction. This is the standardization of blockchain. Do you have interest to join?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, because the working as a standardization committee, although the workload is great, but it's very meaningful, and we can create a real impact to the society.
Yeah, I think that's very important to take all the several thousands of blockchain designs into some standardized process so that we can guarantee that it's not a scam, right?
Yes, exactly. Okay.
So probably we should end the Q&A session.
Yeah,
due to
we
time.
have time maybe for one final question. This is asked by me. I have a very
Right.
interesting final question. So among all these cryptocurrency, which one do you think is the best for investment?
Well, I will be driving, a Ferrari and, having my house on an island and not sitting here if I know the answer. So, that's one of the research we are not doing, namely which coin we should invest. But probably I should look up that now.
Well, maybe we need to do it in the future, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, I think that concludes today's Leveraging Blockchain webcast. And thank you, Jiangshan, for joining us. And thank you to all of you who listened and tuned in. And before you head off, I have a couple of quick things to share with you. We'd love for you to connect with us. So please do follow our Twitter account and join the IT alumni at Monash University on LinkedIn. We also love to hear your feedback and any further questions you may have in relation to blockchain. You will soon receive an email inviting you to evaluate this event and submit any further questions. So be sure to look out for that. It will also contain a link to our recording of this webcast. If you'd like to watch again or share it across your networks, please feel free to do so. Monash Information Technology will be hosting future Monash Tech Talks webcasts on your favorite tech topics. So be sure to keep an eye on your emails for the next one. And finally, on behalf of Monash Information Technology, thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
See ya. Thank you.